David Thompson, the Skywalker, is one of the players Michael Jordan idolized growing up. That already says a lot about him. And even though he didn't play in the NBA for that long due to drug problems, he did more than people could imagine. He won Rookie of the Year averaging 26 points per game. He was already an all-star as soon as he got into the league. And if you average his first 6 seasons when he was drug-free, he averaged 25 points per game. And he didn't even get to his prime. It would have been a scary sight for the NBA if drugs didn't hinder him. But everybody in the league knew he was a problem. He holds the 3rd highest single scoring game in NBA history with 73 points. And he didn't even play the whole game either, scoring 51 in the first half and sitting down most of the 3rd and 4th quarter. And what's even crazier is that he shot 28 for 38 from the field, which is 73%. Players will say when he's going for a dunk, it almost looked like he's walking in the air. He had a standing vertical jump of 44 inches and a max vertical jump of 48 inches. He was dunking, grabbing boards, and blocking everybody's shot at 6'4". So you can see why he was named the Skywalker and why he inspired Michael Jordan. So we're gonna listen to NBA legends and players talk about how good David Thompson was. Enjoy the vid, man.
1.6ers lead, Thompson.
Thompson was a flawless basketball player. What was truly unique was that you had a guy who could fly, who could soar, who could do everything physically, and then really had a game as well.
He's my inspiration. I think, as I was growing up. I grew up watching NC State. I was a David Thompson fan. I enjoyed the way he played, his aggressiveness, his scoring capabilities. And at 6'4", being able to play his game above the rim was truly amazing for any kid to watch. The whole term and the whole measuring of vertical leap began, I think, with David Thompson. He vaulted off the ground, exploded off the ground. 44 inches was a lot. It still is a lot. You can tell when he was there above you, he surprised you.
But it goes to Anthony Roberts. Look at jump back, Jack. Get out of his way.
If David Thompson played in today's game, he'd be an all-star, he'd be all-NBA, he'd be on the USA national team, he would be an MVP candidate.
David was like Joe Montana, Tiger Woods, or Michael Jordan. They're always going to have the perfect ending.
The whole alley-oop term he created, he innovated the game in terms of playing above the rim.
He had perfected the alley-oop play. The way that he did it became a way that players who were older and more experienced began to do it.
It happened kind of by accident one day in practice. Everybody back in the day used to overplay, and I was going back door, and Monty threw a pretty high pass and looked like it was going out of the gym, and I reached up and grabbed the ball and laid it into the basket. Coach Sloan said, I think I like that.
So you had 73, but y'all was trying to win the game.
Right.
So you weren't, so in other words, you weren't selfish at all that game. All your 73 came in the flow of the game.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Came out of the left corner and he did a pirouette. He just looked like a missile going up into the air, and he nailed a dunk.
Twist around, slam dunk.
I knew that after that, I was going to have to come up with something. I was not going to just be able to, jump from the 12-foot line. I have to try to foul line.
5, I think, that night. But he was. I remember that game. It was. You were aware that he was battling Gervin for the scoring title, but when David came out, he wasn't taking bad shots, but he was just making a lot of shots.
Guy on him, he takes shots side and shoots over you. If you put a little guy on him, he just takes inside and jumps over you. He's virtually unguardable.
Dennis Johnson was one of the best defenders in the NBA.
But he's one of the guys who can go real fast and stop on the dime and just pull up. I mean, he was a tough handle.
When I would go into the games against David, I knew I had to be at the top of my game because he was coming at you. David Thompson was by far the greatest college basketball player I ever played against.
Before him, for me, I never saw a 6'4" guy that could jump and be as active and creative as he was, and such a potent offensive weapon.
Some fine shooters out there. That's David Thompson.
David Thompson, for that time, with his explosive power, with his leaping ability, he was extremely skilled as a basketball player. He could shoot it, he could take it to the basket, he could defend, he had long arms.
You couldn't be a sports fan in North Carolina without knowing David Thompson. There was a certain buzz in the sports scene about this young man who was playing above the rim.
David Thompson came on the scene right when college basketball was starting to take over television. Remember, there was no cable television in those days. There was no ESPN. If David Thompson came along today, he would revolutionize basketball. He did it in his own way.
You know, at the time, UCLA was everything. In 1974, it was a young guy, 6'4" and under, against UCLA, and just showed that David and Goliath type of mentality.
His ability to bring that team together at North Carolina State and end UCLA's run, this was truly one of the great accomplishments in the history of college basketball.
I think the whole United States, and especially the South and ACC, David Thompson embodied the whole aspect of how this young guy going against that big elite school of UCLA overcame the odds and won NCAA. I think that helped the evolution of college basketball. And I think it started, I wouldn't say the downfall of it, I think it released some of the dominance of UCLA.
In all the years that I played for John Wooden, he only mentioned one player from the other team by name, and that was David Thompson. And that was the time that we lost.
You know, Monty knew exactly when to feed David, would hit him in stride coming in transition. And this guy would just explode. I mean, he tried to take the ball to the hole and dunk it all the time.
The ABA had the merger with the NBA in '76. They always gave you a few guys you look out for. David was on that list. Julius was on that list. Artis Gilmore was on that list. George Gervin was on that list. And David Thompson was on that list.
The pass is still hot. Here's David Thompson. David Thompson, his eyes light up. He brings it from downtown. He's way up there. Big grand slam.
People really came out to watch us play. And they came out for two reasons. Number one, we still had a little bit of that ABA in us, where we got up and down the court and scored an awful lot of points. But they came to see David too, because he could do things that a lot of people in the NBA had never seen.
The best basketball of the day and probably the road. Oh, bring it down. Oh.
David could jump higher than Julius. David had smaller hands. Julius was the glider. David was the leaper.
The legend was I could take the quarter off and leave 2 dimes and a nickel. I didn't quite have that much hang time, but I could get the top of the backboards.
Off now to Thompson. Van Leer gambled and missed. Now they'll have to hurry. Thompson. David Thompson right here when he looks up, you can see him accelerate and go for the basket. And nobody's going to stop that play.
There's always been people that can jump. What was truly unique about David Thompson was that you had a guy who could fly, who could soar, who could do everything physically, and then really had a game as well.
The guy had one of the fastest first steps in the league. And see, he was not big. David, I know he probably wanted to call himself 6'3.5", but he was probably more like 6'2", but he jumped like he was 6'9.5".
He was the complete package. From the first day he came to professional basketball, David was an outstanding shooter. Julius Erving and Michael, the people that we compare great players to, they developed that jump shot as their careers developed. David had that from the very beginning.
Until Michael Jordan came along, I would say he was the best one-on-one player I had seen. I know it's a big statement to make, but he just was, in my view, totally unstoppable. When he got it rolling, there was just absolutely nothing you could do.
David could get on fire from 18 to 25 feet. He had unbelievable moves. He had a quick step, but his leaping ability is what would take you out of your chair.
I think it elevated through the years. When it got to me, I took it another step, and now you got kids that are taking it even on a higher scale. So it's a little David Thompson in all of us.
Who could imagine a greater player than David Thompson flying through the air, bam, throwing them down? When you dream of the perfect basketball player, you visualize David Thompson.
Some of what he did back in the day. Look at David Thompson. And I tell you, Isaiah, don't get too close to me as I say this, dude. I don't want you to hit me. Some of David Thompson's biggest moments in his NBA career happened in the great city of Detroit.
And not only do you have to be a little crazy, but there's a little insanity again that comes along with greatness. And you know, when you was playing at NC State, jumping as high as you was jumping, and I remember I think I was in high school, and I forget who y'all was playing against, but Monty Tao threw a lob, and you went up and hit your head on the backboard. I don't mean to laugh at it, but I mean, you hit your head on the backboard, fell down, had a concussion, everything else, and that was one of the scariest moments ever. But in full disclosure, that next day we all went outside trying to see how high we can jump and see if we could hit our head up against the backboard. That's how high he was jumping. I mean, you know, when we watch these highlights, I mean, we marvel at the athleticism that players have today, and we forget, like, you know, just how athletic you were, Dr. J, so forth and so on. So, you know, I just like to remind the younger generation that there's no new things that are happening today. You know, it's all a recreation of what was happening before. They may be doing it with more lights and more social media, you know, but you guys were doing it back then. And, you know, we thank you for the example that you've set, the things that you've done, and the man that you are. And we won't call you the Jordan maker, but we'll say you set the bar for Jordan to be. So thank you.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and tell me, where do you rank David Thompson on the all-time shooting guard list? So make sure you like, share, subscribe, show love to the YG gang, and I'm out.